right. Welcome back, everyone, to our podcast, You Don't Look It. This is episode 5, I believe. We're still early on, and I already have no idea what's happening. But episode 5, we got some good stories for you today. Danny has a personal story, while I'll be telling actually a mythological story this time around. But yeah, so what have you been up to? What's been new, Danny?
Well, my house got hit by a tornado, and
Oh,
we lost 12 trees and part of our
holy
porch
shit.
and our chicken coop, and my car got crushed by a tree.
Nancy made it.
Nancy made it. I had to rescue her, though, because, the tree hit the
Oh.
coop, and they stayed in the coop, even though there was a limb sticking through it. Chickens are not bright. Like, once they roost, and they don't care if there is an animal trying to eat them. They want to stay where they chose to sleep for the night.
If that ain't me.
I mean, same. But I'm glad they're all safe. No chickens were harmed. No dogs or people were harmed, so that's good. It's just been quite the
Nancy.
stressful time. I need to get a
Yeah,
new
that's
car.
understandable. Ugh.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit, honestly. That's awful.
Honestly, that car
I'm
was
sorry
such
you had to
bad
deal
luck
with that.
anyway, so fuck it.
It's like, fuck that bitch. Yeah, I know Riley sent me a picture of that someone took near her house. And I was like, Jesus. And I was like, you could see the massive ass tornado. And I was like, that's terrifying as hell.
And you know what's crazy? This did like an estimated, it probably did 30,000 worth, or, well, I don't know if you put the car into that. It probably did $50,000 worth of damage to
Holy
my
shit.
house and our property.
Oh
And
my
we have
God.
insurance, so don't worry, we're fine. But I cannot imagine some people in this neighborhood, our neighbors had 2 trees in their house, and they had
Oh my
a
God.
sunroom that was looked like a gazebo,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that they're just gonna have to lose it because the roof is slipping off of it, and
Oh
they're
my
just gonna take it
gosh.
down and just close off that side of the house.
That's so sad.
I know, it makes me really sad because that house is really, really beautiful, but everyone that's lived there has had horrible luck.
Oh.
People, their children, the last person that lived there before them, their kids died.
Oh my
The
God.
person that lived there before them, when I was friends with the boy that lived next door when I was a little kid, his parents got divorced, and he had a lot of learning disability difficulties that was hard for them to figure out. And we don't, if you live in South Carolina, we don't have good resources for kids with disabilities. And it's just a lot of stress for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The guy next door got arrested for prostitution solicitation, and he
Ooh.
has 2 little kids and a wife.
Ooh,
Yeah,
shit.
it's great.
Saucy.
I always got a bad
Oh,
vibe from him, but I was like, don't be getting these bad vibes and hating on everybody, Dan. That's not a nice way to live. It was right,
I feel that
though.
though.
It was
There's
right.
definitely some people I've had that feeling about.
Yeah.
That's fucking rough. People are always like, it's nice down there. It's too cold where you live. And I'm like, fuck that. We don't get tornadoes. We get snowstorms. And that shit's, I've dealt with my whole life, so it's not a big deal to me, but it's not as dangerous as a tornado.
And I would much rather be shoveling snow off my driveway, off my car,
Oh,
off
for
my
sure.
roof than hurricanes and tornadoes. And we usually don't get tornadoes. The last tornado we had was probably in the 70s.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, no, this was only an F2 as well. And it did that much damage. And I'm like,
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it goes up to a 5, apparently.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It goes up pretty high.
okay, if that was a 2 and it was
That's
this bad,
insane.
imagine what a 5 would be.
Yeah, get that shit out of here. Oh my God. No, I couldn't imagine that. I remember when I went down to visit and Riley and I went to a school to talk about service dogs, and when we were leaving, they had a drill for a tornado to just practice. And I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, we don't have that up here because we've only had an occasional tornado. But I was like, that's wild that it happens enough that they need to have a drill for it.
Yeah, and we get tornado warnings all the time, but we have never actually had touchdown tornadoes in this area until this year. And
That's crazy.
part of 2019. But when I was at college, 30 minutes down the road, we had a tornado hit campus, and it was raining and flooding, and I ended up driving home on the highway in the middle of flash floods and tornadoes because my car was going to be underwater because the parking lot was not draining because of the flash flood. And I was like, shit, I gotta get
Jeez.
home. And thank God I did not bring Ivar with me that day. I just had a bad feeling, and I was like, listen, don't bring your dog today. Like, it's not necessary. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, I'll be fine a day without my service dog. Thank fucking God, because I have never been so scared before in my life. And
that would have been traumatizing, I feel like.
I know. I'm like, I'm surprised Ivar's not more traumatized from this tornado because he was locked in a crate and the only one home at the time. And
Poor baby.
3
Aw.
trees fell outside my window, and these are not small trees. These are 50 to 100-year-old oak trees. And
Jesus Christ.
yeah, and I mean, that was loud as fuck. And he didn't break
Right,
out of the
like-
crate. Like, he was really excited to see us after I had, like, because we came home. I was picking my parents up because they were drunk. And my sister came with me so that she could drive their car and I could drive hers. And
Right.
my other sister was at her boyfriend's. And I didn't bring Ivar because I was like, there's no need. We're going to be gone for 15 minutes.
Right.
And we came home and there was no street access. I like panicked and I just jumped out of the car and started climbing over like telephone poles, which was stupid because they might have still been turned on, and like fallen trees, and trees were still like falling, and even though the tornado had passed. And I just saw the tree down by my room and I'm like, my dog is fucking dead.
Oh,
and I like
so
climbed,
stressful.
I like dug my way to the front door and then I couldn't get it open. So I climbed back out and I went around. I was trying to get into the garage and there was a huge tree over my car blocking the garage and I couldn't get in and I was just panicking. So I went back to the front door and was just like trying to push it open. And he was totally fine, but I'm sorry, I'm like getting worked up because it scared the shit out of me.
That's understandable. I'd be terrified.
And like things continued to fall for like another 2 days, and we had the tree guys out here yesterday taking down the trees that were still up that needed to come down. And they made a lot of noise, but Ivar was totally fine. He was not freaked out by it. And I'm like, thank God
that's good.
This did not traumatize him for life.
Right. True.
Yeah, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, poor boy.
I know. I was like over there trying to keep my composure because like if your dog, if you don't know this, if your dog gets attacked or something traumatic happens and then you freak out, the dog learns that it's a really, really bad thing. So
right.
If you guys are ever out with your dogs and something bad happens, like, y'all witness a car crash or a tree coming down or a off-leash dog attacks your dog, just remain as calm as possible because it will help your dog and will keep them from developing more reactivity and trauma than they would have otherwise.
Right. Definitely easier said than done, but
yeah, no, it was not easy keeping my shit together during that.
Oh yeah, no, I would have been like, what the fuck's going on?
Oh yeah,
yeah, we have not had anything of that sort here. I feel like life's pretty much been the same. Been doing some yard work, cutting some shrubs.
And look at you go,
productive, enjoying my time on the couch. I've been watching a show called Mom. That's really funny. So that's been Gucci. I've decided to apply to grad school.
Hey, that's exciting.
Yes. So far, I'm only applying to one program. I'm applying to University of Edinburgh and their online degree in social justice and community action.
Yes.
So we shall see. I haven't submitted my application yet because I still need to write my personal statement and get my reference from one of my professors.
The personal statements are the hardest.
I remember my common application one when I was first applying for college. You could pick a prompt, and one of the prompts was like, name an experience that marked your transition from childhood to adulthood. And I wrote about how the first time I went to Scotland, which was my dream as a child, was to go to Scotland, and how when I was little, I still now, but when I was little, I absolutely loved cryptids, and Nessie was one of my favorites. Yeah. And I always wanted to go to the locations of origin where the like myths and legends came from. And so the first time I went to Scotland and the first time I went to Loch Ness was when I was there for a pre-college program. So I was like, oh, I'm like, my childhood dream coming true was happening when I went to the most adult thing of going off on my own and going to college and shit like that. So they ate that shit up.
Oh, they do eat that shit up.
I was like, hey. So yes, indeedy, yes, indeedy. But I digress.
I can't even remember.
What do you have?
Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you what your story was, but if you have something to say, say
like
it.
I can't even remember what my personal story was.
Oh.
That's what I was. I probably bullshitted it because I'm not good at talking about myself in a capacity that is serious. Like
That's a mood.
I can't do it without making jokes.
It's the best thing to do, honestly.
Because I am a joke.
Fucking mood. Oh my gosh. All right. What do you have to tell me today? Because I am hyped.
Yes, this is the story of how I was suspended 37 times in one academic school year.
Oh my lord, I'm ready.
And 37 is probably conservative. I did lose count around 30 to 32 times.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It's not
My
as
heart
bad
is
as you
ready.
think, though. It's not as bad as you think.
Okay.
So, I went to a local public high school. I don't know if I've mentioned this in past podcasts, but I have gone to 13 schools in my lifetime. My mother
Jesus.
moved me around every time I didn't do well because she thought it was the school's fault. Newsflash, I had a learning disability, and
that'll do it.
It was my fault. It was in fact my fault. Also, I just had a fucking problem with authority, and that's just going to be a thing for the rest of my life.
That's fair.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a really big school. There was an administrator for each grade. I went my freshman and sophomore year. This happened in my sophomore year. My freshman year looked similar. My sophomore year really amped that shit up.
Yeet.
My freshman year, the principal decided he had it out for me.
Rude.
Yeah. It happens though. This is part of the reason I have a problem with authority. And he would sit by the front door, like to enter the school every day and check people's dress code. And
that's extra.
Right? Isn't that so extra? And we had these IDs that we had to wear. I guess it's like a security thing. And if you're not wearing it, you get in-school suspension. And I would
okay, that's a little too intense.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is how I ended up suspended probably more times than I can count.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I would forget that shit all the time. I'd leave it in the car. I would like leave it in my pockets and not realize it was there. Stuff like that. Or I'd have it zipped up and I'd get in trouble for having it not exposed.
What the fuck?
I'm like, are you kidding me? It's on my person.
I would have fought them.
I did, and you will see. I'm aggressive. And I also, the dress code was really, really strict. So we couldn't have like holes in our pockets. Like if the hole was like above the knee, it was like, you're getting suspended. And
what?
Yeah, so I would get suspended all the time for like having tiny little holes in my jeans. And, you know, I wasn't about to go out and buy new jeans because we weren't exactly rich. I mean, we weren't poor, but like, I didn't want to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe just for my school.
To appease the bullshit rules of the school.
The dress code. Also, like, rude and bold of you to assume that every student can afford to meet the dress code.
Exactly.
I'm like, what about your students that literally don't have money for food? Like, you expect them to go out and buy new jeans? Like, what?
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
I'm like, some kids eat 2 meals a day at school because their parents can't afford food. Are you telling me that they need to go buy new jeans? You know how expensive they are? I mean, I guess you could go to Goodwill, but I mean, they're also old and probably also tattered.
And you might not find your size.
That too. It's a mess at Goodwill. We all know it.
Exactly. You can get some good shit, but that's only if you're lucky.
And it's a hard find.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I had a big issue with this. I would often get suspended, you know, the second I walked into the building, and they'd put me in school suspension, which is just an empty room where you sit there in silence all day which
Oh
I
my
loved
God.
because I fucking hated this school and I did not want to be in
Oh
class.
yeah, but
So-
still.
it was a tad much, and I would take my ID off sometimes just so I could get suspended because I didn't want to go to class.
That's iconic.
I know. I listen. Sometimes you're having a hard day and you want to take a little mental health day, so you just whip that bitch off and
Oh, I feel that.
go
I just
sit in a
didn't
quiet
go.
room. There you go. I mean, I didn't have a car at the time, so it's not like I could just leave, and it was kind of a substantial walk home.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. And I'm just going to go into all the problems as to why I got suspended before I get into the meat of the story.
Oh, I'm so ready.
I took JROTC because I did not want to do PE. Because
Okay.
your bitch is a bendy and she dislocates things.
That's fair.
And I was the only girl in this class with the exception of one other girl who was pregnant. And I don't know if you've ever
It
met...
happens.
Yeah, it happens. I don't know if you've ever met any ROTC kids, but some of the guys are like... Some of the guys are actually good dudes that actually do want to go into the military and want to do, like, something good. Some of them are just there because they, like, want to shoot guns at people, which is terrifying. I'm like, is that not... Like, does it not, like, check off a box for you're too mentally ill to be in the military?
Right.
Like, if you're going to the military because you want to shoot people, I think you need to reevaluate some things.
Oh, yeah, that's concerning.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, y'all don't need to be here. And it was Air Force too, which I'm also kind of like,
ooh,
what?
Ooh.
What? And I mean, I completely understand why there's problems in the military with sexual assault and harassment after experiencing this. Because this is unacceptable. This is insane. And if this is just happening in ROTC in a public high school in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, South Carolina, I can totally imagine it's happening for active duty people.
Also, I feel like it's so easy to lie on evaluations.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, I have mental health issues and I obviously can't go into the military, but it's like I would know what to say.
Oh yeah, same, especially as somebody who is going into psychology. Like, it's very easy to pass a written evaluation.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you know what to look for, and like, I mean, I even have to learn about some of these evaluations they give people, so I know exactly how they're scored.
Exactly. Yeah, so you know what to avoid saying, what to say.
Yeah, the best way to do an evaluation, I believe, is in person and via more than one session, but government's not going to be that thorough.
Yep.
Anyway, a lot of these kids, these boys, if you will, these children, children would, like, I had very long hair at the time. It was down to, like, my belly button. It was wavy.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was really wavy and, like, a dark auburn red. And it was, like, really nice. My hair was actually healthy back then. And before I did all sorts of shit to it, right? And the guys behind me would always touch it. And
no!
Yeah. And it was like, I would get so mad.
Did you punch them? Please.
Oh. You'll see. And it was actually... I would regularly, like, turn around and almost flip their desks. Like...
Yes!
I mean, bitch ain't strong enough to lift some of those big boys,
also,
but...
a mood. Ugh, gosh. I'm not a violent person, but I'm sorry when... if a man touches you when you don't consent, fuck that shit.
Oh, yeah, I was not about it. I was not having it. And every time I would fight them, I was the one that got in trouble.
Oh my god! That's fucking...
It was... My blood is boiling talking about this now. And the colonel who oversaw the class would slap people with his lanyard. And he would often slap me. And I would, like, you have no idea, like, the warp speed at which my head would whip around, and I would give this kid this... Well, he was a full-grown man, but he was acting like a kid. The death stare was intense. I have never in my life been treated such a way by men. That is absolutely false. But...
yeah, now that I think about it.
No, now that I think about it, that's actually happened a lot. But it's still unacceptable, and never in my life will I stand for this. You know, he's like, I'm the alpha guy, and girls should just
No!
like me because I'm me, because I exist. And it's like, first of all,
How about
you're
you tone down your testosterone and take a chill pill?
right. I'm like, first of all, like, you are not doing anything to attract a woman's attention in a positive way. You're saying creepy shit to her. You're touching her when she doesn't want it, and you're standing way too fucking close and breathing on her. Like, she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it.
Oh my. I hate. Ugh.
We
Creepy men
understand it's
are the
not all
worst.
men. We're not over here
Oh, yeah.
saying, like, not all women do this shit. Like, they're
Exactly.
definitely, I don't like creepy women either. I don't like
Oh,
it
yeah,
when
no.
women come on too strong. That fucking scares me. Like,
Fuck that.
it's a
Fuck
thing.
that indeed. And it's like, women do shit just as bad as men. Women sexually assault men. Like, let's be real. We know that shit. So,
I was like 14, 15 at the time. What kind of 14-year-old knows how to handle this shit correctly? I mean,
exactly.
nobody
Yeah,
teaches
no.
you how to handle this shit correctly because a lot of people are just like, well, boys will be boys. And I'm like, that's not
Right. They're like,
handling
it
it.
happens. It's like, it shouldn't, though.
It shouldn't, though, and it leads to, like, more aggressive acts. But whatever, I guess.
Ugh.
We digress. So one day we had this veteran come in and start talking, and I could feel the kid behind me. I'm gonna call him Bubbles. I don't know if you've ever seen Trailer Park Boys, but
Yeah.
he looked like Bubbles with the big glasses.
Oh, God.
And Bubbles was back there playing with my hair, and I could feel it. And so I start getting this, like, fucking death stare, like, I want to kill you face. And I start tapping my finger really loudly, hoping that he will get the fucking message.
Right.
And this goes on. I continue this for, like, probably like 5 or 10 minutes because the fucker wasn't stopping.
No, that's infuriating.
And then the colonel was like, I'll go now so we could stop, like, tapping our fingers. And I was like, no, that wasn't directed at you. I felt so bad. The veteran was, like, so upset because he thought I was being, like, an absolute cunt. And I'm like, no, it was directed at the man behind me.
Oh my God. I hate when stuff like that happens. It makes you feel so shitty.
I still feel bad about it to this day. And if I ever see that guy again, even though I don't remember what he looks like, I will apologize. If you are that veteran, I apologize. That was not directed at you.
Oh my gosh.
So got suspended for that.
What?
Got suspended for being disrespectful. I got suspended for, like, kicking a guy who we had to do, like, physical exercise day. We had, like, one PE day, like, a month, and where we had to run laps. And I was, like, sitting on the ground, and I was wearing
Running.
like the shorts that they make you wear that are, like, uniform, and they're terrible.
Yeah.
And one kid was, like, looking at my underwear that you could see through the shorts because they were so baggy. And I was like, moved it back, and I'm like, can you fucking stop? And he started getting attitude. And then he got a little bit too close, and my 14-year-old aggressive self was like, no, bitch, I'm feral, and I kicked him. And I got arrested.
Yes!
I said I got arrested, and I got suspended for that.
I'm feral.
And I'm feral, so stop staring at me. Yeah.
Oh, fucking iconic right there.
I mean, I wouldn't have done that now that I'm 22, but think about this through the lens of how emotionally mature you were at 14 to 15. Like, that's where I was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're gonna move on to the Great Evasion. And
Oh, God.
this happened, like, near the end of the year. I had already been suspended, like, an ungodly amount of times for dress code, ID, and acts of aggression. And, like, everyone knew me by name, so they would see me without my ID, and they'd be like, Miss Ryan, where's your ID? And I'm like, you know who I am? Why do I need it?
It's like, clearly everyone knows who I am. You know that I'm supposed to be here.
You know it's me, Dan the Menace. You know it's me. You know. Anyway, so by the end of the year, it's like, it's exam time. We're doing our review days. It's like the last review, the big review before we have our exams. And I get stopped at the door for having, like, a dime-sized hole in the pocket of my jeans. Christ. And it was in the front, so, like, you could see the white pocket underneath, but no skin. And I got pulled over, and he's like, you're being suspended. And the principal was like, you're being suspended. And I'm like, to fuck I'm not. And he grabs the administrator, and he's like talking to him, and he's like discussing shit, and like, this administrator, we've had problems. My dad fought him once. It was a thing.
Yeet.
Yeet. My parents hated this school too. And so he's talking to the administrator, and I just start backpedaling, and I just go sneak back to the stairwell, and I sprint up that bitch and go to class. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to my exam review because I'm not about to bomb my exams over
Right.
this sexist bullshit. Why are you sexualizing a 14-year-old girl?
Exactly.
Why are you doing it? So I went to class, did not get apprehended until third period, and ended up in school suspension, then ended up in for real 1 week suspension. And
Jesus.
I like, my next class was my science class, which I wasn't doing well in, and I had to turn in the report because if I didn't, I was going to get a 0, and she had already explained that this teacher was a hard ass. And so I was like, okay, but can I turn in my report? And they're like, fine, go. And so I busted into this woman's class, and I'm like, I pulled out my report, and I'm like, sorry, I'm getting suspended. And I turned around and walked away. And
oh my God.
Everyone in class was like, bitch, what? Like, my friend texted me afterwards. She's like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm getting suspended.
It's like there's just so much happening.
There's so much happening. And I ended up going back down, and I don't know, the suspension was like a week, I think, maybe 3 days. I don't remember. It was some bullshit.
This sounds like it.
Yeah. And as they were like taking me to the suspension room, I was with the administrator, and the colonel saw me, and he was like, you caught a slippery one. And I was like, I almost burst into flames. I was like, I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you.
Oh my God. A slippery one.
I was like, don't. First of all, that sounds disgusting. Second of all, like, I'm about to lose my shit on you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I had just had it. I was like, I am missing my exam reviews over a hole in my pocket. This is you childish motherfuckers.
That pisses me off.
I know. And everyone's like, well, you should have known. You should have known. You shouldn't have worn the jeans. And I was like, all my jeans have holes in them.
Right.
We have like
I'm
a farm out here.
I'm not gonna go spend a fuck ton on a new pair of jeans that meet the standards of this bullshit.
And a little part of me was like, I'm not about to be sexualized by 50-year-old men because evidently these rules are in place because they can't control themselves.
Oh yeah, I was constantly breaking the dress code. One time I broke it like 5 different ways in one outfit.
Oh yeah, like I would wear steel-boned corsets over my clothes to school. I would wear high heels. I would wear like skin-tight skirts. I would wear like big baggy like art teacher clothes. I was like, I'm not about to be fucking told what icon to do. Like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Fuck that shit.
I'm 14. Why are you doing this? This is gross.
Oh my God.
And when you say it's because it distracts boys, that's like even grosser because I'm like, you're sexualizing a child, and that's pedophilia. Exactly. Really. That's pedophilia.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I ended up being requested to not return to the school. I did not get expelled. But I was requested to not return.
That's fucking hilarious. We ask that you don't come back.
They're like,
we're not saying to leave, but please don't come back.
It was like, we got a letter, and it was like, I don't know if we still even have it. If we do, I'll send you a picture. But it was something along the lines of like, we believe it would be in your daughter's best interest to attend a different school next year. If you return, she will have to be on probation for like 4 or 5 months.
What the fuck?
And I'm like, probation? Bitch.
Like, this is crap.
Like, are you kidding me? And, I mean, maybe I did take it too far. Maybe I should have just obeyed the dress code. But honestly, it disgusted me to my core, the fact that we were going to sit here and police young girls and not give a shit about what the men do and allow sexual harassment to continue at the abhorrent rate it did and not do anything about it, and then suspend women who try to defend themselves against the sexual harassment. I was like, I should have petitioned somebody. I should have gone to the school board. But I didn't think about that.
Let's
'cause I
go
was
fight them now.
14. I know.
Like, remember me, bitch!
Remember me, bitch? You remember 2012 coming for you. Like,
oh my gosh.
and I'm like,
when they said the world was gonna end, they were talking about me,
you're
bitch.
talking about me. Remember this face? I'm the goddess of chaos, about to rain
Yes!
down on you. Yeah, I know.
My
I'm like,
God.
now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, damn, I really should have like gone to the higher ups, but 14-year-olds don't think like that. I didn't.
No, it's true. No. I feel that. In that position, like I never followed the dress code because I thought it was bullshit and sexist, which it was.
It is.
And I was lucky because the people who ever called me out were teachers who liked me and I liked them. So they didn't really give a shit. They're just like, does your mother know you're wearing those short shorts? I was like, she does, and she don't give a shit.
You know what? My mother actually bought them because I'm 14 and I don't have a job.
Exactly. Oh gosh, but yeah, no. I feel like if I was in that position, I wouldn't have thought to go to anyone higher up either. And it's also hard because, like, depending on the school, a lot of places are not helpful when you try and do stuff like that.
Yeah, and like my dad had gone to fight the administration about the ID thing because he's like, okay, dress code is dress code, but the ID, getting suspended for not having your ID on
Oh yeah,
or
that's
having
shit.
it zipped
That's
up in your jacket, like he's like, okay, that's actually really ridiculous. And he would go talk to the administrator about that, and he got in like a screaming match with the administrator. And when the administrator was like, it's her fault, she should have known the rules, and like my dad was just so mad. And as he left, he was like, your ID's on backwards. And he's like, you're suspended. And then he fucking left. And I'm like, Dad, that was so childish.
Oh my God.
I loved it.
What an
though.
icon.
It was great. It was great. I was like, that's because the IDs only had the face printed on one side.
Oh, gotcha.
And they're blank on the other side. And a lot of people would get note cards and put the note cards on the end of a lanyard because they lost their ID. And that's where you'd get suspended if it was on backwards. Because they just assumed. And the year after that, they printed them on both sides, but it didn't matter anyway because I ended up at a private school that I only got into because no other school in county would take me because I had been to them all. And my reputation of being a menace had spread too far.
That's iconic.
Yeah, and both my parents went there, and so did my uncles, and we got a huge discount for having alumni. And somehow I got some sort of scholarship, which is weird because my GPA was like a 1.2.
They're like, yeah, she needs it.
Like, fuck
we'll
it.
give her the money.
I mean, but at that private school, they let anything slide. They'll bury anything. I can tell stories for days about the crimes they straight up buried that never made the news. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, I can tell you some about my first school, my first college I went to that I'll share sometime.
Oh yeah, I know. I can't. I don't think I can ever say the name of the school because they have more money than I can ever dream of, and they will sue the shit out of me. But
right,
I'll tell the story and just not name schools. And if you if you happen to find out what school it is, that's not my fault.
Right. That's not on me.
That's not on me.
Damn. I'm glad you fucking roasted people and didn't give zero shits in that ordeal, because that is glorious.
I lost, but I won. It was weird.
It
was weird. It was one of those situations where you lost, but you also won, and the taste of victory is sweet yet confusing.
Right. Oh, no, I totally get that. Well, I liked that quite a bit.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. All right. Are you ready for a mythological story?
Hell yes. Lay those myths on me.
Let me pull up my notes. Okay. So what I have for you today, because I love me some ancient Greece, is a glorious story from Greek mythology. And chances are everyone has heard of this person, but not everyone has necessarily heard of the story or knows the story behind it. So today I'm going to talk about Medusa.
Ooh,
and
fun.
I love me some Medusa. This bitch is an icon. Truly a queen. Okay. So Medusa was born to Phorcys, who was a god of the sea, and he was associated with the hidden dangers of the ocean and water. Um, and then she was also born to her mother, Ceto, who was the goddess of sea monsters.
You can tell because they both have C in their name.
True.
Sorry.
True.
That was really corny. I'm really sorry.
Even though it's Ceto and his name, when you hear the C says CYS.
But it still sounds like C. You see.
Exactly.
Sorry, I hate myself.
You see. You see.
You see?
So Medusa had two sisters who were born at the same time as her. And they were Stheno or Stheno, there are multiple pronunciations, and Uriel. And so all three of them were Gorgons, but Medusa was the only mortal of the three. Stheno and Uriel were said to be hideous, but Medusa was known to be absolutely gorgeous. And her most attractive feature was her hair. And she did not look the way we know her at this point. She did not always have the hair of snakes. So, ironically, her most attractive feature, as I said, was her hair. And so Medusa was devoted to the goddess Athena, and she wanted to be a priestess. So she constantly worshipped at the temple of Athena, and she was like, I'm going to remain celibate. Athena is the virgin goddess. I want to be a priestess, so I'm going to remain a virgin. So there are some distinct different theories regarding how Medusa came to be the one we know and love. So the common description of Medusa, once she was transformed into her, like, the Gorgon features we know, was that she had a scaly body, large wings, sharp teeth/tusks, snakes for hair, and, as we all know, the ability to turn anyone into stone if they looked into her eyes.
So she turned into a dragon.
Yeah, basically. It was quite interesting. Yeah, there are various descriptions, but that's one of the most common ones. And it's debated. Some say that when she was turned into the typical Gorgon appearance, that she was hideous, while others said her face was still beautiful. So one lesser known and told variation of the myth is that Medusa was very arrogant, and she would often compare her beauty to that of the gods, specifically Athena. Athena was like, nah, this is not okay.
When you want to be a priestess and you're praying to Athena and you're like, I want to be a priestess, but, like, bitch, I'm better than you. Like, that doesn't go over well.
She's like, I'm straight up banging.
Yeah, you can't go begging for things and then being like, but I'm still better than you.
Right. So Athena was displeased, to say the least. And she's like, I'm going to teach you a lesson, Medusa. So to show her that gods can give beauty as easily and they can take it away, she decided to turn her into her snake-haired Gorgon self. So she was like, I gave you this beauty and I can take it away. And that's what I did.
Still a badass bitch, though.
I know, exactly. And so that happened. A more common variation of the story is that Medusa had an affair with Poseidon, the god of the sea, and that they slept together in the temple of Athena.
I'm seeing an ocean theme.
Yes. Athena was pissed. She was like, how dare you disrespect me, the virgin goddess, by banging in my temple? So she couldn't really take out that anger or punish Poseidon because he was another god. So she was like, I'll punish you, Medusa, because you know better. So she turned her into her Gorgony self. And then another variation of the story is that Poseidon was enamored by Medusa and her beauty, as many men and women were at the time. And he constantly made advances. Medusa repeatedly rejected Poseidon and was like, get the fuck away. I am not interested in you. I want to be a priestess. Leave me alone. You're creepy. And so Poseidon became annoyed and he attacked her. And so Medusa ran to the temple of Athena in hopes that the goddess would protect her. Because she's like, I worship you. I'm constantly devoted to you. Protect me. And so that did not happen. So Poseidon raped Medusa. And then Athena knew she couldn't always be there to protect Medusa. So she gave Medusa her snake hair and the power to turn men into stone, so that Medusa always had the ability to protect herself if Athena couldn't be there.
I feel like that's the best of the stories.
Yeah, the next one, the next and last is the most common and definitely the worst.
Awesome.
Yes. So the most well-known variation and the one that pisses me off the most is Athena being a massive fucking victim blamer. So in this variation,
we hate those bitches.
Exactly. In this variation, Athena was said to be jealous of Medusa and her beauty, and this jealousy turned to resentment. And so Poseidon, again in this version, was pursuing Medusa constantly, trying to get her to sleep with him, and all that shit. And Medusa's like, no, I love my celibacy. I love Athena. I want to be a high priestess and all that shit. And so, again, Poseidon attacked her. So she ran to Athena's temple, again, with hopes that the goddess would protect her. Since she was like, I constantly am worshiping here. I'm devoted. I do everything I need to. Please protect me. That, of course, did not happen. And Medusa was raped by Poseidon. And Athena became enraged that they had sex in her temple.
But that's not her fault.
I know. And she blamed Medusa. So she was like, I'm going to punish you for doing this. And she's like, I'm going to take away your beauty that I'm so jealous of.
Sad.
I know.
She literally ran to her for help. Oh,
yeah.
I don't like that.
And so she turned her into a hideous Gorgon. But I would like to note that although this is the most popular story, it is important to know that the Roman poet Ovid is the one who popularized that version. And he was known to dramatize the mythology he wrote about even more. He didn't like the gods very much, so if he had an opportunity to paint them in a bad light, he would.
That's fair.
He was also Roman, and in Roman culture and mythology, Athena's counterpart, Ares, was favored over Athena, or Minerva as she was called. So Athena was a lot more popular in Greek culture, whereas Ares was more popular in Roman. So it probably added to him not wanting to paint Athena in the best light.
That's fair.
So yeah, those are definitely things to note for reasonings why that story was so terrible. But still, there are various versions, and none of them are great. The best one is honestly probably the one for her to protect herself. But there are also theories that that one was made as a counter to Ovid's theory, and it was made by the Greeks to kind of make it seem better, and so like Athena wasn't being a shit person.
I'm gonna clean up that reputation of yours, Athena, because the next election's coming up.
Right. they're like, we named a fucking city after you. What the hell?
What the hell are you doing, man?
Oh gosh. Okay, so once being punished and turned into the snake-haired Gorgon we know and love, Medusa was also exiled. There are various stories that say Medusa lived in Athens, while others placed her in Libya, and the others said the island of Sarpedon. So no one really fucking knows where she lived, but it doesn't really matter. What we do know is she went to live in a cave with her immortal sister Gorgons. Or Gorgon sisters. Sister Gorgon sounds like fucking sister wives.
Yeah, it does.
So
I mean,
she went to live in a cave
they're all
with them.
Gorgons together, though.
Exactly.
At least
they're all
she's
just
got
bonding
like some
over their
sister
hideous
solidarity.
Yeah, seriously. And so she went to live with them. So now we're gonna do a brief intro and background on the guy who killed Medusa, to kind of give you a heads up about what's going on. Perhaps one day I'll do an in-depth story about him because he has a lot more than what I'm going to tell you, but this is about Medusa, so I'm just going to give you the background you need. So, Perseus was a demigod born to a woman named, I think it's Danni. I really don't know. It's spelled in a way I don't know. And the god Zeus. So, I'm just going to call her Danni.
It's fair. Go for it.
So Danny's father, King Acrisius of Argos, went to the oracle one day, and she told him that his daughter's son would kill him. So he was like, fuck that. I do not want this. So he was like, my daughter cannot get pregnant. So he locked her up in a bronze chamber. And Zeus, being
That's so
Zeus,
specific.
I know.
Like, why bronze? Like, there has to be like a connotation.
Hell knows. I looked and I could not find out why. I'm sure if I go further into like the story of Perseus, I could find more, but who the hell knows?
We're not going that deep on research for this.
It's true. So he locked her up in the chamber, and Zeus, you know, being the player he is, he constantly wanted to bang people, and he was enamored by Danny. And so he was like, I will find a way to bang you anyway. And so he really wanted to bang, so he turned into a shower of gold and fell into Danny's lap and impregnated her like that.
Why does Zeus always got to turn into something fucking whack to bang a chick? Why can't he just walk in?
He's like, oh, you don't want a person in there? I'll just turn into a shower of gold.
Or a goat or a fucking swan. Why? I don't understand.
He
just got bad pickup lines, so he just has to turn into a fucking cow.
He's like, hey, what animal you want me to be?
You into bestiality, girl?
Oh my god. Oh my god. But yeah, so he turned into a shower of gold and was like, I shall fall onto your lap and impregnate you. So that's what happened. So voila, Perseus was born. And the king was like, fuck this shit. He could still kill me. So he put the two in a wooden chest and chucked them into the sea.
Aggressive. Why you gotta kill your daughter too? I guess she could always have more sons.
Rude as hell, though.
I know. Just get on that birth control.
Yeah, seriously. Or Zeus could just have some self-control.
That too. That would also be better.
True. So they survived. They washed up on the island of Seriphos. I think that's how you pronounce it. And were taken in by a man named... I just got real jumbled. Taken in by a man named Dictys. Years later, you know, what a name. Dictys' brother and the king of the island, Polydectes, fell in love with Danny. But Perseus didn't think that Polydectes was a great guy, so he was constantly keeping his mom away from Polydectes and protecting her because, to be fair, Polydectes wasn't a good guy. So Polydectes decided to hold a banquet and told all the guests, except for Perseus, to bring horses. And this was a banquet to gather gifts to be used as as a gift to the woman someone was gonna marry. I don't really know. But it was kind of like a reverse dowry. And so Perseus was unaware that he was supposed to bring a horse, and he didn't have a horse. So he was like,
when you forget the horse, damn it.
I know. Fuck up. So he was like, all right, name anything, and I will bring it to you as a gift. And so Polydectes, being like, you won't make it back alive, was like, bring me Medusa's head. So he was like, he sent Perseus on his way, thinking Perseus would not come back so he could finally hook up with Perseus's mom.
Also, I imagine Medusa is not bothering these men. She's just existing in her cave with her sisters.
Exactly. She is. That's really what she's doing. What? And I mean, if people decide to walk in on her home and she turns them to stone,
that's trespassing.
That's on them.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Perseus got some help from the gods. He received winged sandals from Hermes. He received Hades' Helm of Darkness, which made him invisible. And he got a bronze shield from Athena, as well as an adamantine sword or sickle from Zeus, as well as a bag from, oh god, I didn't look up the pronunciation of this one. Hesperides, I think is what it is. So this has me extra pissed though that, especially with the last story, or even any of the stories, that Athena would be like, here, take this bronze shield so you can use it to kill Medusa, which I turned her into that.
I created her, so kill my creations. Please.
I know, fuck Athena, that bitch. So he got all those items. So he went to wherever the hell she was. We still don't know, but she was in a cave. So he went there, and while Medusa and her sisters were sleeping, Perseus snuck up on the Gorgons and used the bronze shield from Athena to reflect the image of Medusa so that he could see her without looking directly at her and would not be turned to stone. So, with a swing of his sword, he decapitated Medusa and put her head in that bag he was given. And even more fucking wild is that when Medusa was decapitated, oh, well, know this, she was pregnant with Poseidon's children. And so when she was when she was decapitated, her children sprung from the blood of her neck. And
why her neck? Do they know how anatomy works?
Apparently it was just her blood, but they were just like, oh, magic.
I mean, I guess if you can make people out of sea foam, why the fuck not?
Amen. And so one of her kids was Chrysor, I think that's how you say it, who was a warrior. People know basically jack shit about him because they don't give a shit, because his brother and Medusa's other child was the famous winged white horse Pegasus.
So she gave birth to a human man and a horse.
Yes. And I think they said Chrysor may be part giant. I can't remember. But yeah, very different. So Pegasus yeeted. And honestly, what also pisses me off is that Perseus constantly went on adventures with Pegasus, and it's like, he murdered your mom, mother. Pegasus. Exactly.
Can Pegasus speak? Does Pegasus know how to talk?
It's a good question.
I'm sure he realizes that Perseus killed his mother. I don't know.
Yeah, seriously. It's also debated that because of her Gorgon state, where I think she just had a snaky body, a lot of it, her Gorgon state, and the fact that she was impregnated by Poseidon, there were a lot of factors that she couldn't give birth. So when she was decapitated, they were finally able to yeet.
So she had a grown men in her body.
Yeah, so there are various theories as to what the hell was happening there. But
gotta love Greek mythology.
I know. So iconic. Pegasus yeeted. So Medusa's sisters woke up and were like, rude as fuck. So they just tried to chase Perseus and get him, but he used the Helm of Darkness to make himself invisible, and then he flew away with he either flew away with the winged sandals he was given from Hermes, or on Pegasus. There are various accounts. So from there, Perseus would use Medusa's head to turn his enemies into stone. And so that's enough about Perseus. Like I said, there's more to him, but I don't give a shit about him. We're talking about Medusa because this is an iconic bitch. So let's talk about the magical properties of Medusa. So, as we know, her children sprung from her blood. We also know that her gaze could turn people to stone.
I don't know what you mean by. We also.
I don't want Siri's trying to talk to me. I apologize.
Rude bitch.
I know, interrupting my story. A snake from her hair could be used to deter enemies. So Perseus ultimately brought Medusa's head back to Athena, and she did some shit with Athena. So she gave a snake to someone, can't remember who. But it could be used to deter enemies, and others say it could cause storms. Her blood could be used to both raise the dead and kill someone, so be careful. So it could be heal / raise the dead, or as a poison. So it was said that
to make sure that you don't accidentally poison the person you're trying to heal.
Right. So it was like from her left vein was the one that killed people or some shit like that, and the right was the
Are
opposite.
you just carrying this corpse around, like not even putting it on ice, just carrying it around on the back of her dead Pegasus child,
That's what I want to
like
know.
with her head in a bag, just carrying around your prized dead body? It's weird.
This poor fucking bitch, honestly.
Honestly, that makes Perseus kind of sound like a serial killer with his trophy, just
Seriously, and
roaming
then
the
he's just like,
countryside. Like, haha, look, I got it.
Stone.
Stone.
So there's also a lot of symbolism with Medusa, so let's talk a little bit about that. So Sigmund Freud, being Sigmund Freud, said that cutting off Medusa's head was a symbol for castration, while the fear people had for Medusa stood for the fear of castration. So
Oh,
Danny's
man.
unimpressed.
I forget what it's called, but it's not the Electra complex. It's
The Oedipus?
it's not the Oedipus complex. It's like the reason that Freud thought that boys wanted to be closer to their dad if they had an Oedipal complex was because they thought that if they got closer to their mom, the fear of they like feared their father castrating them.
That's probably related to this.
Yeah, it's kind of like Freud thought that the
Because he
reason
was
that
comparing it to men getting too close to women, specifically their mother, is what he was saying. So
Yeah.
he was saying how that was being a symbol for shit like that.
Yeah, because apparently he thought that, like, you know, if a boy did get too close to his mother, like, he thought that his father would castrate him, so he would, like, do
Yep.
the opposite of what he wanted to do and go hang out with his dad so he wouldn't get castrated. Freud was a fucking weirdo.
Oh yeah.
Like, we wouldn't
I
have
don't know how he came up with this shit.
like, we wouldn't have psychology without him, but the man
But
is a
still.
flaming weirdo.
He really is. So when I noticed that, of course, he had something to say about Medusa, I was like, this has got to be good. So yeah, that's some symbolism with her. And also, she is a very prominent symbol in modern day feminism. So in history, Medusa was often a symbol of protection, and her like picture or like a artifact of some sort with her face on it would be put on the front of many women's shelters to let them know that if they went there, they would be safe. Medusa has also been seen as a symbol for how men are often threatened by female power and beauty. So the fear they feel for Medusa is really the fear they feel of the fear they have for a powerful woman. And so Medusa has been claimed and utilized by the feminist movement as a symbol for female rage and the anger that women feel regarding misogyny, inequality, you know, things of that like.
I vibe with that.
Yes. So yeah, that's Medusa. I tried not to do too much, but I also wanted to do her justice because she's an icon, and many people just know of, oh, she's the bitch with the snake hair that turns people to stone, she's a monster. But really, she's kind of a little bit of everything. She's a monster, she's a victim, she's, you know, a symbol of power, a protector. So she's really interesting. Definitely probably my favorite myth of all time. So I wanted to tell her story, and so everyone could hear all the variations and such. But yeah. Love that
Vibin'.
bitch.
I love that.
She's an icon. She's an icon.
She truly is.
But yeah, I know I was debating. I was like, I don't know. I just did someone Greek last week, and Danny's like, go for it.
Do what you want to do. I'm going to keep making videos that people don't want to watch. Just things that I'm going to pull a Jenna Marbles. I'm just going to make videos that I want to make out of my selfish desire to have fun. And if people want to watch them, they can watch them. If they don't want to watch them, then I am sorry.
Right. Exactly. So enjoy it or don't.
Enjoy it or just, you know, yeah, watch the train wreck and click off.
So yeah, that's Medusa. I'll probably be telling more myths in the future. Some Greek, some not. But you know, Greek mythology is wild as hell. So,
It's fun.
But yeah, I very much enjoyed listening to your story. Hope you enjoyed the tale of Medusa.
Oh, I did.
My mother would always call me Medusa when I was little because my hair was really, really curly, and so it'd be kind of all over the place. So she would call me Medusa.
So sweet.
I know. thank you for listening. If you would feel so inclined and want to support our journey on making this podcast and continuing it, you are more than welcome to donate to our Patreon and become a patron. As we've said before, we're still figuring out what we want to do for the different levels and tiers for Patreon. I know we have a patron-only Facebook group, patron-only Discord channel. We are thinking of doing live Q&As, possibly like a game night or something. But we definitely want to hear your feedback, see what you want to see. So right now we only have one tier, but we'll adjust as we see fit. We would also love to hear your own wild ass stories. So if you want to tell us those, please email us. We want to do listener stories each month. So email us at youdon'tlookitpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions for stories you want to hear regarding myths or historical people or, things of that such and then also hit us up. You can email us. You can reach out to us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We'll be posting the audio of each episode on YouTube as well. Instagram, you can find us at You Don't Look It Podcast. Same goes for Facebook. You can search that on Twitter as well and find us, but our username on Twitter is You Don't Look It, I believe, or something of that sort. I honestly forgot it. I
think
apologize.
It might be You Don't Look It Podcast. I don't know. I can't figure out how Twitter works. And
mood. So if you look up You Don't Look It Podcast, you'll find us. And an easy way, if you want to find everything, including our Patreon, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, is go to our Instagram, which I know for a fact is You Don't Look It Podcast. And you click the link in our bio and we'll take you to all the links for each of those things. So simple click like that and you'll find your way there. But yeah, we really I can't talk, I'm sorry. We appreciate you.
Y'all are peaches now.
Y'all are peaches.
Y'all are our peaches.
Our peaches. Thanks for listening, peaches. But we appreciate you listening, and if you've made it this far to listen to this constant spiel I have, we appreciate that as well. But yeah, we look forward to coming at you next week again with some more wild stories.
Hell yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. Bye.
Right, bye.